meeting to order for the Board of Water and Wastewater Commissioners at the Harwich Water Department at 196 Chatham Road, Harwich, Mass. on Wednesday, December 14th, 2022 at 11:34 in the morning. We have called to order, no executive session, no public comments, announcements. Consent agenda, we're going to hold off for our next meeting, no abatements. Dan, old business, water restrictions bylaw.
All right, so I guess let me just kick off with, I did get an email yesterday from Mass Waterworks, just there was an updated drought declaration. Cape Cod and the islands are still presently at a level 2 drought, so we're not out of the woods yet.
Okay.
So,
but there is improvement from the water.
Yeah, we're trending upward, but we're still well below where we were last year, and certainly below historic median for this time of year. Included in the packet, so just drawing back to our conversation at last meeting, we had met with Attorney Giorgio, and he was going to be preparing some draft language for a special legislation for a home rule petition article to adopt water restriction bylaws that allow us to assess violation fines to water user accounts and those things, but where that's a multi-year process likely. We were also looking to update the current existing violation and penalties section of the bylaw to be more reflective and consistent with what was in our department rules and regulations. So in the packet, there's two sections within our bylaws, 300-5 and 300-16, that speak to the violations. So this is a pretty cut and dry amendment that would just look to amend the existing language that has no written warning as a first offense, and presently $50 for first violation and $100 for second and subsequent. And we're just linking that up with our rules and regs, which offer a written warning as a first offense, $100 second offense, and third and subsequent at $300 each. I did also include in the packet section 300-12, which does speak to the restrictions that the board, by way of bylaw, would be looking to include, which we were consistent with in the last meeting. So basically, if I can just read it, a declaration of a state water supply conservation, first packet, third paragraph there, shall include one or more of the following restrictions, conditions, or requirements limiting the use of water as necessary to protect the water supply. Applicable restrictions, conditions, or requirements shall be included in the public notice, which is covered under a different section, and includes odd even day outdoor watering, a full outdoor watering ban, outdoor watering hours, which we've kind of had a combination of the three of those over the last year or two, no filling of swimming pools or automatic sprinkler use. So these would be categorically the restrictions that we could impose under the bylaws as it's written, and the proposed language up above is revisions to the violations and penalties section. So that's my summary.
Perfect. Noreen.
Thank you. I need to go back to the top two for a second. I see you did the written 100 and 300. And I will admit, I have not looked at this stuff in a couple of weeks. But I thought that we had to go to flat 300. I didn't think the 100 was an option. And why I thought that is, where did that conversation come from?
So the 300 is the max amount that we can levy under current Mass General Law. We can do anything up to that. As I understand it, the $100 is an we could just do the flat 300 if that's the board's, wish to do second and subsequent $300. That said, this is consistent with what we had in our rules and regs, so I thought it was appropriate. But my understanding from talking with Giorgio is that we can have an intermediate one, but 300 is the cap under the current MGL.
The way I remember it was not to go over the 300 because then we'd have to change the charter, the bylaws.
And then, yeah, we'd have to do special legislation.
Right.
I could have sworn in the Mass GL or something else, but we're going to get a chance to review this before we go ahead, right? Because I have a memory, it's probably confused with one of the other many things, but during our conversation with Giorgio, I thought, I even wrote that we had to change the bylaw to 300, not have a $100 option. So just give me time to figure out why I thought that erroneous thought.
I can confirm that too with him. I can share this language.
What does our bylaw say? The bylaw says 50 and 100.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're gonna change it from 100 to 300.
Correct. Or any version of that.
Right, but not to exceed 300,
Right. Was my
the general
understanding.
master.
I don't remember hearing that 100 was a possibility, but as I say, let me, go back to wherever I formed that opinion. It's probably wrong.
I wouldn't doubt you.
Well, there's a lot going on. I would doubt me.
We had multiple conversations about it, and I know during
Yeah.
our meeting with Attorney Giorgio, we were going around and around and around,
Right.
trying to come up with different scenarios, so.
Yeah. No, that's all
I
right.
mean, yeah.
I mean, this is great for now, it's just a question of what the amount is, so by the time we review it again
Well,
to submit it.
I do remember when Dan went to the Orleans District Court, they asked him not to come with $50 fines.
Yeah, I know that, but it wasn't, they didn't say you can't
No.
put a $50 fine.
No, they didn't.
Right.
No.
So-
I believe it, $300 being the max, my understanding is that we can pretty much do anything up to and including 300, but can't exceed it. But I can certainly run this
Right.
back by him.
Well, I'd appreciate it if I had a chance to look first, because I can figure out my own confusion, and then we'll discuss it again, and we may not even need to consult him.
Sure.
There is one matter, since you mentioned consulting him, that I would remind him that he said he would get an answer to, and it kind of ties in, but I had asked him if we could shut off service based on fines only, as opposed to on water. We can shut off water on purpose due to non-payment of water, I believe, right now.
Unless there's a
Yeah, the
Yeah.
moratorium and the other things.
extenuating circumstance.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we can shut off water service if somebody only has fines on their account. And from experience, some people will do that. They won't agree with the fine, so they'll say, well, I'm paying everything but, this $600 that I got. So that's one that he would have to answer. But the other thing, just let me get my thinking cap back on. But the other language and everything, I think, is great.
And I think under Massachusetts law, you're allowed to do that until something, if you put in an appeal of something, you're allowed to pay that way until that appeal is
Could be, see, that's what I'm
resolved.
not,
As long as you're paying what you're,
Right,
as long as you're paying, not the fine, but the normal,
Yeah. I mean, the laws are so different. If you're shutting off, milk delivery to somebody's house in the old days, or,
milk delivery?
water bottle,
Yeah.
delivery, you can do whatever you want. But when it comes to utilities, electric and water, the times when you can shut off service are very rigid, so.
All right, so let's just clarify on that, on the $100 and the $300.
Right.
Hopefully get an answer for Noreen's question about the fines. Is there anything else regarding the water restrictions bylaw as of right now, besides what Noreen asked?
No, I think once we get these answers, I think it would be appropriate, maybe, these answers, and then the special legislation language from Giorgio for the ultimate end game, and then I'd like to at least circle back with the Charter Bylaw Review Committee and, share what we've put together with them, and then we've already put the town administrator on notice that there is potential articles coming with respect to this, so I think once we get answers to those questions, those will be next steps.
All right.
The charter review usually meets early, like the second week of the month, so you can possibly get there in January and then submit at least this first article, so there's no question that it didn't get submitted in time. knowing that there'd be a placeholder for Giorgio's second article.
And one thing that I didn't hit with this, and I know Giorgio had recommended I reach out to Orleans, which I haven't had a chance to do yet, but with respect to regulation of private
I was
wells.
just gonna ask. Yeah.
So, just confirming that is the direction that we want to go in, you know, because I could see it being a contentious
I think we
subject.
brought that up when we were talking with them. I think we brought up the,
Yeah, we've talked about it, but it wasn't in Giorgio's court, as I understand it at this point, to draft language, but really just amongst the board, we do want to go in this direction, or not.
I don't think we have an option. I think that during that conversation too, we're looking at DEP to
Right.
take a lead
Guidance.
on that. And so, is that even something that they're looking at?
No, not as I understand it.
Right.
Can I ask
Do
a
it.
question? Is it something that maybe we could reach out to the elected state officials to see? Because I don't know if it's something that the legislature would have to bring up if DEP is not addressing it. I mean,
I think it's more, it's different from, you know, there's a lot of discussions going around about fertilizer, right? And right now, that's presently regulated by MDR, and
Yeah.
that is completely under the care and control of MDR. Towns don't have the opportunity to regulate it. I do believe it's different with the private well situation in that there's nothing prohibiting us from doing it other than our, you know, taking action to do it.
Oh.
So it's just that
So
we
we-
need to say, yes, we're gonna do it, establish the language, and then needs to be adopted through town meeting.
So your understanding is legally, as a board, we have the ability to control all the water underground?
To adopt regulations and, yeah,
Okay.
to that effect.
And that's supported by DEP,
That, what, like
that
the,
we would control all the water.
yeah, I don't think they have a position in that they don't regulate sources beneath, I think, 100, you know, a small source like that. Those are generally regulated by the local boards of health. I think they would agree with the mindset that we're all cups, you know, straws in the same glass, and that, you know, to really have an effective regulation, that this would be included. But from a DEP, Water Management Act standpoint, there's no, they're not holding us to a standard that includes private wells. It's completely voluntary. So, while we couldn't get punished or receive fines or any citations from not doing it, I guess that's,
Yeah, that makes sense. And they probably never in the past had a reason to
right.
Yeah.
address that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would love to see that language in here.
yeah,
Otherwise, you're gonna find people getting their own wells.
We saw it this year.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw it that people who had wells didn't shut them down.
Didn't shut them down,
Yeah, I
exactly.
I personally shut mine down.
You're a good guy.
But you know what? Can't speak before tongue, you know?
That's right.
You know, the reality is, you know, and I'm on the way out, you know, the water, groundwater that's flowing into Saquatucket or someplace
Yep.
in the ocean, you know. and-
You're not on the way out. The water under
The water.
your property is on its way out.
Creepers.
Creepers.
All right, so
Okay,
All right,
we're gonna bring this back.
Yeah, okay.
good.
Can you figure out what this came from? It's in my pile of research, but strange. I might leave you a copy, maybe you can help me figure out where I
Yeah.
got it. It was when I was going through everything, gathering stuff, but it's funny that it's got the references to town meeting, but yet it's the
2009.
MGL, and then at the bottom, there's another one. I'll leave you a copy, maybe you can help me. I don't know where I got it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I mean, it's not charter, it's not bylaw, it's,
Section 1.1 or something.
she wrote
well,
that,
it's
she wrote
the,
that at midnight.
yeah.
Are you all set with your side bond? Yeah. Let's go back to the agenda, if you don't mind. Well rehab update, Dan.
So, do have some good news. Well, M2, it was in fact the motor that failed out here. It was a dead short, so it was just motor shorts out. They're kind of throwaways, so we have had the new motor installed. The well was chlorinated. It's being flushed today and taken a bacteria sample before we put it back online. But that one is nearly back in action. Well 4 out back also at this location. They have done the cleaning and redevelopment of the well. They just need to come back and reinstall the column, pump, and motor. So that should be in the next couple weeks. And then I just signed the agreement for the well 7 rehab conversion from submersible to vertical turbine this week, so we should be getting going on that as well. So things are finally in motion.
Doreen.
With the last one, remind me how we're paying for that? Was that the one that was 65?
No, it's, I believe, 32
Okay,
for that. And that is split between 2 expense line items in the
Okay.
budget. We had
Budget department.
the majority, yeah. We had,
Yeah.
I think, 20,000 of it came
Yeah.
from the well rehab line, and then another 12 from pipes, valves, and fittings.
Great, thank you.
All right, new business, DEP sanitary survey.
So included in the packet was the official report from DEP and the sanitary survey that was conducted here last month in November. There's a handful of, comments throughout the report, but if I can draw your attention really to, well, there's lots of good things throughout the report about the department and operations, but to bring us to our last page here, page 17, is Table C, which identifies their recommendations. There is some additional language throughout the report that expands on these, but item number 1, they're looking for us to put protective bollards in front of the 3 M wells here, just to help as an extra layer of protection to make sure a plow doesn't hit them. Haven't hit them yet, but that's an easy one to accommodate. And then the second one, which is a more difficult one to accommodate, is the location of pretty much our storage yard, which is right out back here, and DEP's recommending that we seek alternative storage for equipment, dirt piles, spoils, things of that nature. So I do need to go and start to come up with some sort of plan for that. We had talked a number of times over the past couple of years about potentially relocating our headquarters. We had looked at Queen Anne Road at one point. I think the desire is to stay here. We do have access off Route 39. That could be a potential location where we could, kind of relocate part of the operation up there so that we're out of the zone, one of the wells, but just need some further investigation.
If we couldn't do it like behind this building here, over here?
Then it'd be ultimately, the same condition would be,
Same location.
yeah, so anything within 400 feet of a well, right? So we're wells peppered throughout, all the way to the back to the property here. We'd really need to go out beyond the bike trail to satisfy that.
And it's nothing that, just the extra equipment and materials could be stored at DPW?
It all
Do
comes
they
down
have
to
space?
operational,
Yeah.
as far as when there's a break, are we coming here? We have all of our pipes, valves, and fittings here. Are we coming
Yeah.
here to get repair couplings, things like that, and then driving across town to,
Right.
dump loads of dirt and haul T-base back, things like that, so.
Yeah, I don't want to see stuff getting mixed in with DPW.
Yeah.
It's enough as this to be DPW, water, wastewater, I think just keep it all
Yeah.
together.
Just wanted to ask.
When you say we have some room on Route 39, whereabouts, do you mean the other side of here? What do you mean?
Yeah, on the other side of here, and as well as the Route 39 tank. So, we can, thinking
Okay.
long-term, 39 tank is next to be replaced.
Right.
So we could have maybe an interim storage,
Yeah.
where we could get more bin blocks, and then they have those kind of poly tents that we could put coverage over to help reduce rain and things, runoff, which is one of the concerns with having the piles here. That may be an intermediate resolution until, we replace the 39 tank. When we did that, we could conceivably
Right.
relocate kind of everything to the other side of 39 as part of a bigger project there.
I'll just mention that, that area sounds great, not too far, but I, ran into one of the ladies on real estate and open space, and they were, so appreciative of the work that you've done with them and the interest, because I've been doing this for so many years, and a lot of people don't realize how much it is, so, I mean, that's another thing. They may have some landlocked areas or anything. They'd be happy to do anything to help us, is
Yeah.
the impression I got, and I said vice versa, so.
And as I was cleaning my desk
Yes.
over the last week, I found I had met with them, I don't know, 2 months ago maybe, I think it was October, and I owe them a map, because I did identify a handful of parcels that were of interest, would make
Yeah.
sense for us to consider, taking.
Right.
So I gotta get back on that and get,
Right.
not going, but.
Can I shoot? Quick question, just my ignorance, is a bollard like a Jersey barrier?
Just a concrete post,
Oh, post.
or, sometimes we use
Yeah.
New
old pipe.
vocabulary?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, steel posts with concrete.
posts.
Yeah, all concrete.
Well, it's pretty positive, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
congratulations.
yeah, there's a lot of nice paragraphs throughout the report that,
Kind of supports what we were looking to do anyway, so.
yeah. Yeah, it's not an unknown, it's not an unknown potential
Yeah.
hazard that, we're unaware of. It's something that's been on our radar, for a while now.
All right. Phosphate study. That sounds exciting.
It is exciting, it's very exciting. So, a number of years ago, and I think we've touched upon it a couple times throughout, Mass Department of Agricultural Resources did put out a blast, probably pre-pandemic, trying to coordinate a glyphosate study, which is Roundup, for those who don't know. That's the technical or chemical compound name. So they've been working with public water suppliers throughout the state to develop a sampling program, which we volunteered for. November was actually the first month that they have hit us up and come out, and they were actually out yesterday as well. So we're going to be doing glyphosate sampling, which will test for the presence of Roundup and or the presence of Roundup metabolite, which would be after Roundup, the half-life happens and the compound degrades, that's the metabolite is what's left, so they're going to be testing for both of those. We're doing that testing over next to well 8, which is right next to the Food Forest Initiative garden that was put in a few years back. But that is, in my opinion, the closest location with the application of glyphosate that we have to our wells. So if it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be there. So we'll be doing sampling throughout the next year with MDAR. It's my intention to, as we start to get results, to post those on our website, social media, so that when people know we're doing it and they can see exactly what's going on.
All right, good.
When you said you thought that would, if it does show up, it's gonna be there, is that because that's the electric?
Yeah, the Eversource right away,
And
vegetative
previously,
management.
they had been, they're still not spraying there, right?
They're pushed back beyond the Food Forest
Yeah.
garden, but they still do apply up to that location.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I assume that you're always in touch with Katie at the Board of Health, because it seems to me, depending on how the problem shows itself, that they would also get a lot of questions and stuff like that, so I'm just going to assume that you're in touch with Katie.
Yes, we've had a number of discussions about fertilizer, been a hot topic now for a little bit.
And for the public, I mean Katie O'Neill, Board of Health. Thank you.
Anything else, Dan?
None on that. Still waiting on our results from the first round of sampling, but no, I'm excited to be doing it. So.
Are they doing it all across the Cape, do you know?
I
I mean, did a lot of communities get chosen?
A lot of communities didn't volunteer.
Oh, that's too bad.
I know I believe they're doing it in Barnstable. I don't know where else on Cape, but yeah, that's what he said when they put out the blast. He was kind of surprised at how few people took advantage of the program. So
I'm glad we did. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, superintendent's report.
I don't know that I have much to add. I was out sick last week, but did submit the comments on the watershed permit and Title V regulations. Had a meeting with the selectmen this week where they reviewed and gave their blessing on the final draft. I saw that come out from administration yesterday up to Commissioner Suberg and to DEP. I had submitted previously the Water Management Act regulation comments, just gearing up for another year.
All right. Commissioner's report. Alan?
Could we go back to the let's see, the water restrictions? I mean, wait a minute. It's a state report on the water system.
The sanitary report?
Yeah, sanitary report.
What page
So,
are you
I'm on page 8.
on?
And where I'm at is treatment general. And it lists the different stations active, and then it has the treatment class. Now, the treatment class, is that the level of treatment that is given to the water as necessary? Or I noticed some 1-T, and then others are 2-T.
Yeah, so I got an answer for you. So that is the rating of the treatment system. So when we think about the licensure that we need,
Yeah.
so we're a T2, D3 system.
Yeah,
So
that's
the 2T identifiers on here is Station 10 and the Bruce Cahoon plant.
Yeah.
Those are rated 2T because they have more advanced treatment because they go through the green sand filter plant,
Oh.
where the other locations are a 1T that just get disinfection and pH adjustment.
Okay, all right, I get it. It struck my curiosity as to what the difference was, and, the water is different and requires more treatment.
And, you know, another example, when I was in Norwell, we had the grain sand plant there, but it was a 3T system, and it was
Yeah.
3T because we were using chlorine gas instead of sodium hypochlorite. So
Okay.
it all factors into what is being done at the treatment plant and complexity and
Okay,
that.
yeah, I got it. And then, let's see, I got on a couple more, page 9, what is NaOH, N-A-O-H?
Sodium hydroxide. So that, if you recall, I think it was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago maybe at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
So we are approved to treat with sodium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide.
Okay,
The sodium hydroxide has a very, very high freezing temperature, the 40 to 50 degree range.
yeah,
So we used to run into a lot of problems where the sodium hydroxide, when traveling from the chemical feed pump through the conduit out to the vault where the chemicals are injected, would freeze up.
Freeze up,
So the
yeah.
potassium, so we're still approved to do either or.
okay. All right, sodium or potassium?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Just a couple more. 15. And then, let's see, under the statement of Zone 1 compliance, in the second paragraph, it discusses please note that you'll lack ownership or control of the water required 400-foot Zone 1. What needs to happen as far as that particular item goes?
So I gotta look at exactly where those radii are and confirm with him. One, for that one and the third paragraph, because he says public rotary or 09G, which
Okay,
maybe they meant public roadway, because the roadway on Bay Road
Yeah.
travels within the 400-foot radius of our well.
Yeah.
So we don't technically own and have total control
Oh.
of that, because there's a public roadway that goes through that zone 1.
okay,
I know for 13, 14, and 15G, which are these 3 M wells right here,
yeah,
it could be such that our neighbor to the right here, we don't have the 400 feet to the edge of the property line.
Okay.
In order to rectify that, we would have to basically purchase that swath of land.
Yeah.
The one thing that I need to look at is if we may have not have improved any of these with the land acquisition that we did with the owners unknown parcels. So I do need to go back and check, because we did pick up a couple of parcels right
Yeah.
on the side of the property. So
yeah, that's right.
that
yeah.
could be, we may be able to get rid of at least 05G.
Okay. In some cases, we can't get rid of it at all,
Right.
yeah, unless we
Move Bay Road.
move the well or move
Yeah.
the, yeah, got it. All right, and then, the last one, page 17. I think, let's see, was item 2 in the recommendations, identify a location on the side of zone 1 on the main station wells to store construct. We just did that, okay. I'm done. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Judith?
Nothing.
Lorraine?
All set?
Okay,
Happy
I have-
holidays to everyone.
Happy holidays, yes.
Dan, the only thing I have is, I got an email about the town annual report, that's due, you have that too?
Yep,
All right.
that
so
time of
just-
year again.
Our next meeting. What do you have coming up, Dan, that's imperative?
Well, typically, we would have already had the budget in munis. Typically, that has been, or historically, since I've been here, that's been in before,
The end of the
Thanksgiving.
year.
Sorry,
Oh.
before
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. Obviously, that hasn't happened yet. We're still waiting for the budget to be opened in munis so that it can be entered. There's actually a department head meeting happening right now where they may be covering some of this, so I'll be following up some of my counterparts to see if there's been direction provided. But that could be something that we should consider convening on as a kind of final budget. We had went through it, I think, back in August, and had discussed the budget to some extent, but where this is kind of it's going into munis, this is kind of the first final draft, if you will. That may be something we want to reconvene on, but beyond that,
Do we have a date?
not yet.
Okay.
Well, could we have a short meeting before the end of the year and do the budget, a preliminary budget?
Well, let me follow up this
Oh.
afternoon with some of my fellow department heads and see if they laid out a schedule, because I think it'd be,
Yeah, okay.
Noreen?
I'll just mention that I'd like to see us, I'm assuming that Charter would meet on January 10th. And I'd like to see this board do like the final review of the part of the water restriction bylaw changes that we can and bless it, so that Dan can go to Charter, and so that it can get submitted to the town. The town's gonna be crazy busy this year, and, we wanna make sure that gets submitted with no question. We can't account for, John Giorgio.
I'll be returning from Colorado on the 10th.
Oh, so will you be in on the 10th?
I'll be in on the 11th. I think we're coming in at like 10:30, 11:30.
Okay, so you wouldn't make it to that meeting if they have it then anyway?
And I'm
Yeah.
on vacation Christmas and New Year's, 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think, and we could push it for the next, when do you guys meet again? The 2 weeks later?
No, they're once a month. I'm not on.
You're looking at
Oh,
February.
Yeah, yeah. But, so we'll have to go around it. You have to go straight to admin then. That's all right, you know, that's okay. You can go visit them in February and show them what you did. Things can still be changed up till then, and I don't think they're gonna change any legalese. You know, they're just gonna they wanna be informed, you know, so, all right, so we'll forget about that then. Then in that case, I don't care when we have the meeting.
We want to do a placeholder on the 18th
Of January?
of January, and then if I get direction about the budget that pushes that forward or back, we can go from there.
You know, even if you get direction on the budget, I don't see why we should really review it before then, you know,
We're still waiting on, we haven't been provided our indirect costs.
that's what I mean, you know, I think whatever, I don't see any personally, for us to rush in and review the budget with so many holes and so many ifs and whats. We saw it in September, you know, I would say make it for the 18th, and whatever you got then is fine, and whatever you don't have then, God help us, because that'll be real late.
That's-
Also considering that they plan to present the budget to the Board of Selectmen on January 23rd. That's what's in the new list. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, whatever you folks, you and Sandy and other people, whenever you have to submit it, I'd say do it, you know, I mean, we, you know what I'm trying to say?
And you're an elected board, if you want to change it after the fact, I believe that's well within your authority to do so.
Right.
So,
So I just said a lot of words that came out to, I don't care when we have the next meeting, so,
It was very thorough.
thank you.
And you did it without swinging, I just want to point out, if I may.
Thank
You did it
you.
without, you know, hitting the chair accidentally.
Thank you.
I'll give her that one.
All right. Oh, it's like elves.
I'll give her that one. We have seat reassignments come January 1st.
No way, we have to vote them.
and
All right,
then
so-
I'm gonna lobby for votes.
So-
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
MMA too, I don't know if you,
Oh, what are the dates on that?
20th, well, 19th, 20th, 21st.
So, after I talked myself out of a meeting, are we having a meeting on the 18th?
Temporary, it's
Okay.
tentative.
it's penciled in.
And if that pencil works, it would be at 11:30?
Yes.
Okay. And just see what comes up between now and then.
Hopefully no fires to put out.
Right.
All right, that goes with everybody?
Good.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.